section of Perryville Road in front of the municipal building. It had been previously overlaid, reconstructed, drainage installed on the segment from the county road, effectively out past the school to where the what is now going to be St. Catherine's Church driveway is. That's where they terminated. Township had applied for an application, I think going back as far as 2007, if I'm not mistaken, or 2008, to effectively widen the road out, similar to what was previously done down past Ray Street, and from Ray Street going around the curve down to the railroad. I think some initial applications were done by John Lyman, and then some subsequent applications were done by Kevin Smith. In both cases, the estimates were done on the basis they were just going to do shoulder work and paving. And the applications were made, and in last year, actually in January of this year, Township was advised that they were given a partial grant for their application that had been applied for the prior year. So it's considered a 2010 grant. I don't have my notes in front of me. It was $110,000, for I'm mistaken, was the amount of the grant. We've been talking through the early parts of this year about what do you want to do with that money. It wasn't the full amount of the estimate. And basically left it that I was going to kind of scope out the road, you know, with Craig and kind of see where things stood. As a result of that, Craig and I did look at the road and basically determined, I'll kind of explain this, the sections that have been done uphill from us effectively have storm drainage that comes down and ends right below the St. Catherine's driveway. St. Catherine's, as part of their site plan approval, this photograph is going to show the parking lot they're building. Over here, it was building a detention basin on their property, which is going to discharge also out to that existing ditch. So there's a fair amount of drainage coming down this side of the road. And as you go down the side of the road, you notice the ditches get deeper, and actually as you get below the township driveway, the road crew had actually, or someone had to actually pave the swale, if you will, on the edge of the road, which turns the corner and goes down Ray Street, goes under a driveway and dumps out into a ditch that traverses into private property. Somewhat interestingly, it goes down a little further, and the property owner in here actually piped a segment of this ditch and built a swimming pool, not necessarily over the top of the pipe, but when and how that happened, I don't know, but there's a section of this ditch that's actually piped, and it continues down further into the open waters. So most of the, not most, all the water from this side of Perryville Road is draining out towards Perryville Road. Some of the back portions of the township property are joining through this adjoining property, coming into the same ditch. The waters that come to the township road basically flow around Ray Street and down into this drainage basin. That's for that side of the road. This side of the road has an entirely different system, such as it is. It's essentially some small ditches, mostly with pipes under driveways. Some of the pipes have been extended across full property frontages, and they go basically into open ditches. And they can convey further along Perryville Road beyond Ray Street. So essentially none of the water, at least everything we can tell so far, none of the water from this side of Perryville Road ever makes it over to this side. So we have like two independent drainage systems going on. As you go further, this would be like the next section, as you go further below Ray Street, this ditch continues around the sharp curve, flattens in that area. I've never seen this in heavy rain, or in the winter for that matter. Craig tells me that there's a constant drainage issue down there, some water ponding. He has a lot of icing issues down in there, which is not surprising given the amount of water that's essentially trying to convey over the surface. After it turns the corner, just past the first driveway, between the first and second driveway, there's actually a culvert under the township road. You can hardly see it, but there is a culvert in here that disposes water out into another drainage system, which finds its way down to the ditch on the railroad. The road goes back up to a little bit of a high point at the property line. The rest of the road drains down toward the railroad itself. At the railroad, there's some sort of a culvert. You can't see what it is. The ends of it are half collapsed, but there's obviously a major drainage structure conveying water from the railroad ditch under the road to the other side of the railroad ditch and continues on in an easterly direction. Craig thinks there must be some sort of drainage under this driveway, although if there is, it's all buried. He says he has problems down in here too with water running across the road and water coming out of the ground. The other problem it has with water coming out of the pavement is just after the curve in here.
So which side of the road were you just pointing to? The east side?
Well, yeah.
You last point.
For the sake of conversation, assume north is straight up on this map, so it would be on the south side,
Yeah.
southeast side of the road,
Right.
is where the ditch is running along the railroad. The driveway from this business operation over here does kind of comes to the railroad in this particular area. It's in this culvert. Craig thinks there must be a pipe under here someplace that's connected to the culvert that goes along the railroad. But this is half collapsed. You can't see exactly what's going on here. So after evaluating this, what I came to the conclusion is that to do the roads without dealing with the stormwater was somewhat foolish, because we have existing problems here now, especially on this segment, where we have a fair amount of water that's trying to convey itself through here. One of the things we'd have to do as part of any project, especially since these are all relatively sensitive areas, is make sure that whatever we do in the way of collection and conveyance of stormwater, that we don't alter any of the existing patterns that are there. So effectively, the fact that we have water coming down this side of the road, if we're going to put a storm drainage system in, whatever that storm drainage system collects on this side of the road should stay on this side of the road. And vice versa, whatever we collect from this side of the road, we can't convey it across, because we'd be adding drainage area to an area that doesn't go there. Now, we haven't designed anything yet, so we're trying to put this thing together in the way of assessing conditions and projecting what we think might be improvement. So we're taking this base information about length and width of road. We're calculating where we think we have to put storm drainage in, figuring out how many inlets we think we might need, how many driveway crossings we have, how much shoulder work we have to do, and converting all that into quantities and unit prices and coming up with estimates. The estimates came out rather high. This segment of road, just for the sake of evaluation, we split the section from the beginning point down to Ray Street. That particular section in there, because it involved a fair amount of drainage going down effectively towards along Ray Street, would be about $290,000. Again, it's in my memo. I forgot. I broke it down between what might be storm drainage and what might be road improvement. The lower section is a little less. It's about $240,000. And as indicated, you could actually break that into a subsection if you really wanted to, because you have a high point in here. From all intents and purposes, if you're not going to do the project as a whole in its entirety, which is one option, but given you only have 110,000 and you're talking something close to $500,000 here, I figured that's not something you'd want to do necessarily. If you were to break this into sections, I think you should concentrate on this lower section first, because whatever you end up doing on the upper section in here, if it has to involve conveyance of water down this side of Perryville Road, you're going to need to have infrastructure in place to accommodate it. So, starting at the bottom of the hill, given if you can do it in sections, starting at the bottom of the hill is where you'd want to start. Because whatever your final design for drainage in here that would come up to this point really should be in place before you tackle the next section, assuming you're doing this in sections.